listening to the Sileightymania podcast. I'm your host, Benson Su, and thank you for being here for episode 9. I'm joined by my side, my co-host and wife, Nadine Su. Hey, babe.
Hey, honey buns.
And as always, we have our sound engineer, Mark Mondoy. What's up, Mark?
Yo.
Hey, Marky Mark.
So today, I wanted to talk about alternative drift cars.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
What's an alternative drift car?
So, okay. Yeah, so let me give some context. So, when we first started, drifting was all about the Hachirokus, the S13s, S14s, and FCs. Maybe there are a little bit other cars, besides that, what was available to us in the US. But, it's been 20 years. And those cars are far and few between. And if you can find one, they're really expensive. And I've talked on that multiple times in many episodes. So my question to you guys is, are these the cars that are always going to be the best cars for drifting and the cars we're going to continue to see in drifting? Or are we going to start seeing some of the newer cars that are out there, the alternatives that are out there, such as the RX-8s, the FRSs, the 350Zs and 370Zs? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it depends on who you're asking, right? Because I know for me, it's a little frustrating, having an old car because the parts that we put on our old car are now getting old. I think I've twice changed a lot of my aftermarket parts, twice. That's a lot. So
and you've had your car for a long time, so you know.
I've had my car since 1997.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But so I would say it's hard, but a 350Z I think is a transitional alternative drift car because I feel like when we were drifting,
we're Nissan people.
Yeah.
Let's be upfront about that.
Yeah.
We love Nissans, and so it's not that far of a stretch to go from an S13 to a 350Z.
Which we just did.
Yes.
Yes.
But there's challenges with that because 350Zs, they haven't been a stable or a popular drift car for that long. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of things that aren't unknown about the car.
Yeah.
Like S13s, they've been around for so long. What parts are good for it, what problems it has and what problems it doesn't have. And we're kind of going through that now, like trying to figure out what are the weak points, what are the good, what are the points that you need to leave alone. But there's that learning curve that comes with jumping to a newer car that is not as well researched.
Yeah,
right?
Or supported by the aftermarket manufacturers, for sure. But I think we're going to have to conform and get alternative drift cars. I do believe that. But if you ask a youngster, right, it's going to be a different answer. Because maybe that's all they know is the new cars. And the old cars are just old.
Yeah. What do you think, Mark?
It's tricky. You brought up young people, and that's the key. You're saying people getting into drifting, right? And if you're first learning to drift or wanting to learn to drift, seat time is the most important, right? So in that sense, the most reliable car is the car you need. And at this point, if you're young and you've got a limited budget, 240SX, on paper sounds good, but it's gonna, if you're gonna get it in a decent budget, it's gonna need a lot of work. And although there's a lot of knowledge, there's still gonna be a lot of hours putting in just to make it drivable and trackable. So
I agree.
In that sense, it's just gonna be tricky to just if you're just starting out, it's gonna be a pretty big barrier to entry to start with an S13 that is needs a ton of engine work, needs a ton of suspension work, it's got leaks in all forms.
Because when you, Mark and Nadine, when we started, S13, we all had S13s, and when we started, the car was 10 years old, right?
Pretty new.
So someone new to the sport right now, a Z is 10 years old, right? And so for us, the S13, when we first started, it wasn't like a restoration project.
Yeah.
It wasn't 30 years old when we first started.
Right.
So there were certain things that we needed to worry about and certain things where we felt like it was okay because the car's not that old. But people coming into the sport now is you've got a classic car pretty much.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to do all of these things to get it to a baseline where you can start modifying it, right? Things that you need to start fixing before you start modifying it.
Yeah, like the kind of things that people don't think about, like your power steering lines are leaking, your fuel lines are leaking.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the interesting point is I watched Formula D, the last round of Formula D yesterday, and man, there are a lot of S13s and S14s still out there. You don't see a lot of newer chassis out there like the Z or the Supra or the FRS. So that is still interesting to me that these pros that are investing all this money and, let's face it, their careers, they're campaigning the tried and true S13s, S14s.
Yeah, going to Japan, even like D1 GP, the top cars are still S15s running 2JZs, a 30-year-old chassis and a 30-year-old engine, and those are the most competitive.
Well, a Z, as I've figured out, is much shorter than an S13.
It's a little
or
stubby
an
car.
S14.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not because of the, tried and true. It's what motor can you shoehorn into a 350Z? Because, the S13 is much, much longer. So
that's true. And because the S13 had a 4-cylinder in the engine bay, you need to have some room. You need more room for a 4-cylinder versus, length. You need more length to put a 4-cylinder versus a V6.
Yeah.
So maybe you're onto something. I'm not sure.
I'm onto something. I know I am, because I could park that Z in this podcast studio, and I don't think I could fit the S13 in this podcast studio. I think it was alarming, the difference. I think it was like 7 inches or 8 inches, or I don't know. It was a lot more than we thought it was going to be. So I don't know, but I'm down for alternative drift cars, but not
me too.
Not like brand new ones.
I'm not one of those old people that are gonna say like, no, you've got to use the S13 or S14 because that's what we used back in our day.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see newer cars being used in drifting, but
we can't afford to use brand new cars either. So there could be other cars out there that would be good, but they're not practical because they're not affordable to drift yet.
Yeah.
Like the Q60 Red and...
Would you say that practicality, I think Mark already answered this question, but do you think practicality is the biggest decision in what kind of car you should use? Like if you can get like a really cheap S13 and put together for a fraction of the cost of like a reliable 350Z, is that the answer, the 350Z?
Depends on if you like wrenching.
Yeah.
I think also when we got cars, you gotta have the cool factor too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, because if your car's not cool, who cares?
Yeah.
That's my take. I don't know.
Is the S13 uncool?
No, the S13 will never be uncool.
Okay. I hope
depending on what you do with it.
Okay, you changed my mind on that, Mark.
I don't know.
You can have a pretty uncool S13.
There's a lot of uncool ones for sale, like on the used market.
Okay.
They're pretty bad.
Shots fired.
Yes. You guys out there.
Okay, the hard-hitting question here.
Uh-oh.
Do you think you can make your 350Z look cool in your eyes?
Okay, so that's tough, right?
Ooh.
Because, and that's something I've been grappling with. I'm glad you asked that, Mark, because what inspires me and what I love is all the stuff before the 350Z.
Right.
So I'm in a constant battle with myself. Like, okay, here's an example. I reached out to my homies at Toge Factory. Shout out Toge Factory.
Hey guys.
For some parts, right?
Yes.
And I wanted the cool Works Bell stuff for the steering hub and all of that. And they're like, Works Bell is way on back order, and we don't know when we're going to get in stock. So all they have in stock is, kind of the cheaper, like, knockoff stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, well, let's get the cheap stuff, because I just need something, right? Something's better than nothing. So, but I think that's the case with a lot of stuff for the newer car. It's like you can't get the period correct, stuff that you're into with the S13s and S14s, because when it comes to newer cars, you have newer products available for it, newer manufacturers making things that are more available and maybe at a lower cost, and trying to find that balance between like making a cool car that reflects your style and the things that have influenced you is a little bit more difficult with a newer car, I'd say.
Yeah. But, oh my God, when we were in Hawaii, I'm going to bring up the Hawaii thing. When we were in Hawaii, we were eating at this restaurant and we're eating outside. And then we knew we were in the process of buying the 350Z and we were really excited. And we saw I think it was a 370 roll by on the street. And Hawaii, you guys have so much swag.
Shout out to Hawaii. Oh my
God. And we saw it and it was just dumped on some really dope wheels and it was really loud and it was just so gangster. It was a black one.
It was nice.
And I loved it. And I was just like, let's make ours look like that. And then you're like, no, we can't do that because we're going to go drifting. And then you kind of like shut me down. So guys, this is the problem. Like with the styling is this, Benson and I are having a difference.
A style issue.
We're having a style issue.
You and I have different styles.
We totally do. I've always been a racer.
Very flashy. Yes, you come from a car show background where it's all about like, you know, yeah, and it's about the style. And I mean, I have a different style, but it's more bling, I would say.
Yeah, right? I mean, you got to have a car that
flashier.
Looks as good as you drive it. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So.
And for me, where I came into drifting, it was kind of and you know, I hope to touch on this with some of our guests in the future, but we were a rebellious group when it came, because what was really popular was car shows. And that was the king at that time. In the late 90s, early 2000s, car shows were king. It went from drag racing to car shows. And car shows was all about, you know, looking flashy, having big wheels.
Put the mirror under the car.
Oh, yeah. For sure. So you and I have a little bit different perspectives. And for me, when I came into drifting, I was like, no, it's not about that. It's about like driving your car hard. And, you know, like there are some style aspects, but it wasn't so much about, you know, like what kids are doing today with like making your car look like a works car. Which is very flashy.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more towards your style.
Yes.
But for me, it was more like rebelling against what was deemed cool back then, which was the flashy stuff.
Yeah, like putting on like 14s or 15s.
Yeah, I was all about 15s. I was all about 15s when everyone was about 17s, where people were like, that's not upgrading, putting 15s on a car that comes with 15s.
And your one-gun wing. And, you know.
Yeah, so for me it was you and I have different perspectives, and I think we need to find a median.
I think
like
we
a happy
agreed
median.
though on the wing.
Yeah.
A dope wing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised that you were down with the wing.
Well,
with the GT
you know.
Yeah.
I have some ricer in me a little bit.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, we'll have to see where it heads, but I don't really know how our 350 is going to look, but right now, we have to stylize it and
you
put
know
our
what?
touches
It's gonna
on it.
look sideways.
Damn. Okay.
Okay. Anyway,
I'm excited for it, and it's gonna be gangsta.
Yeah. So follow me on my Instagram, Sileightymania, and we're going to document some of the stuff that we're doing to the Z. And we've already put a Brid seat in the car, which I'm really.
We have two, but one's on order.
Yeah. So
I'm
really happy about that.
And I made Benson get carbon fiber.
Because you're a racer.
It was the best.
And
best
I gotta say,
ever.
I'm not disappointed in that at all.
Yes, because only the best. Only the best. So I'm just excited.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
Okay, I think it's time to do Alex's official introduction. So here we go. Alex Pfeiffer currently lives in Northern California and is the owner of everyone's favorite suspension brand, Battle Version. Alex is what I consider a drifting unicorn. There aren't many formal articles about him and his amazing drifting career online, but we're going to change that here today. Alex began drifting in Hawaii in the early 90s and could possibly be the first American drifter. He hosted the first sanctioned drift event in Hawaii and has always been an amazing competitive driver. Alex moved to the mainland in 1997. He's competed in a plethora of drifting competitions, like big ones including D1GP, Nopi, and Formula D. He's competed driving his silver AE86, the RS-R Honda S2000, the Megan Racing 350Z, the Tanaka Racing Corvette, and his personal Lexus SC300. Other notable things about Alex is that he was a stunt driver for multiple Fast and the Furious movies, was a judge for Formula D, he was featured in the D1GP video game, and was the only, well, one of the only Americans besides myself to grace the cover of Carboy magazine in Japan. So, Mr. Alex Pfeiffer, welcome to the show.
How you doing today?
What's up, Alex? It's been a long time, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys too.
So let's start way back. And so you were born in Hawaii.
Yeah, right? Originally born and raised in Hawaii, Palolo Valley, so like the back of the valley. It was really hard to come home from school because the bus would drop you off the bottom of the hill, and I would have like a pretty long hike to get home.
It's very rural.
That sounds like one of those. When I was your age, I had to walk home. Yeah, it sounds like one of those.
It was a hike. It's a big hill.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't do that anymore. Buses are not as common. But so tell us about your early years as a kid. Were you into cars back then?
My dad used to actually take us out to the drag strip and the circle track. So we used to go to the circle track in Hawaii.
Okay.
So I always dreamed of like driving sideways, because that's like circle, dirt oval.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but like years later, I was more into drag racing, but I always had it in my head like sliding around was the cool thing to do.
So how did you find out about the Japanese style of drifting?
Being raised in Hawaii, a lot of my friends were Asian Americans, and we used to get together, the VHS tapes of option video and stuff.
Yeah.
There was only one store on the whole island that would have the option videos to rent. So we used to rent the option videos. And back then, there's no cell phones and stuff.
Right.
So people would be calling each other, call their mom, hey, so-and-so around, you always had to like call somebody's house, right?
Yeah.
But we would all get together on the weekends, and one person would rent the video because there's only one video on the whole island, and there'd be 30 of us in one room watching it, watching one VHS tape of option video, and then we'd all go drive the mountain after it, and of course, like a lot of accidents happen.
Especially after watching the video, your inspo.
Yeah. I think that's something people don't appreciate now, because when you want to watch something, you stream it online or whatever. But I remember that, Alex, when I would go to the video store and like I wanted to see the next one in the series, and someone would rent it. It's like it's not there. I'd be so pissed because I want to watch them in order.
It was probably me.
Yeah, that's right, you, Mark. Well, that's cool. You guys all got to watch it together. Around what year was that, Alex?
I want to say like 93, 94.
That's crazy. So you already had a car by then, right? If you were driving mountains.
Yeah.
What kind of car did you have?
The first thing I started driving around was my grandfather's Mercury Zephyr.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like the Ford Fairmount, but it's like the Mercury version. So like the seats were nicer, the interior is a little bit nicer.
Oh, fancier.
Was that rear-wheel drive?
Rear-wheel drive.
Okay.
My friend's moped smoked me.
Okay, so you guys would drive the mountains, right? Was this Tantalus or was this another mountain?
We did Tantalus the majority of the time.
Most of the time.
I was there probably like 3-4 nights a week.
Wow. And was there drifting going on, or were you guys just hitting the mountains?
I was the one that was kind of pushing the boundaries of being able to drift that spot.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us, we had a one turn that we called like our practice turn. It was by nowadays all the kids go to the dark side and they practice on the dark side. But like we used to be on the light side. Back then, there was nobody around, so there was nobody to call the police on you. So we could stay there all night long, going over and over again.
Wow.
This your story reminds me so much about my experiences with Andy Yen, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. But we did the same thing where we would all get together and watch the videos, these option videos with the drifting segments were small back then, right? They weren't a whole video of just drifting. And we would get so hyped, and we would be just like, all right, let's go hit toge now, and we would just go, and like that's what got us to toge every single time to try drifting. But it was the same, it was mostly grip, and like we would pick like a corner and just hang out at the corner for a little bit, or do a little bit of drifting. But yeah, I see the parallel there. That's interesting. So you are the one pushing drifting, right? So what was that like? Because in '92 there was no one on the island that could be like, Alex, I know you want to start drifting. This is how you need to do it, right? There was no one showing you the way. So it's kind of like what I went through with Andy, where we would watch the videos and we would try and mimic it, but there was no one to teach us anything.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of like the videos. The option videos really were what we watched and tried to emulate, or like try to copy. And it was just repetitive. It was just a fact that would go out there multiple times and just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think what really happened was after I got to the mainland, I ended up finding a GTS. Like I honestly didn't want a GTS. I was more into the older Toyota Corollas. I was more into the 3Ts, like the 2TGs. I really didn't like a 4AG. But the car had AC and it had a heater. Living in Hawaii, you don't need an AC and you don't need a heater. So, after I bought the Corolla, I did end up meeting like Takahiro. And that's how we kind of moved up a bit. Then I met more people. I knew there was like a group in the Bay Area of Corolla drivers, or like Corolla crew. And then I started to meet up, I was North Bay, so there wasn't anybody in the North Bay into Corollas at the time.
That blows my mind, what you just said, because I felt like there were so many Corollas. When I learned about drifting, and when I found out about you, there are so many Corollas up in the Bay.
Well, I was North Bay. They were all Davie City.
Yeah, okay, got it.
They were all South Bay or East Bay.
Yeah.
And luckily, like I live fairly close to some good roads. So we kind of started doing the same thing that I was doing in Hawaii, which was like watching videos together, and then we go to the mountain. And it grew from there.
So I want to, before we get into your life in the Bay Area, I want to go back to Hawaii for some more. I know Tantalus. Well, speaking of Tantalus, I guess I want to introduce the fact that I want to do several episodes based on Hawaii, because I feel like, you just proved to us that Hawaii was the first to really start drifting in the States. And
I don't want to say it exactly like that. I feel like the Bay Area guys and meeting Moto, meeting Hiro and Taka really was what jumped drifting up. Remember the USB trial? The USB trial events really was the first time we got to go like Buttonwillow and actually drift the track. And that kind of catapulted my mind. Like, hey, if we can do this here, we can do this in Hawaii. We can do this, we can do this in NorCal. Like, why do I have to drive 5 hours south? To go, run a track when we can go right there, rent that place and do it.
But I was there at Speed Trial when they started opening up Group C for drifting.
Yes.
Drifting. It wasn't, full on drifting. It was kind of like you guys can do it a little bit here, a little bit there, as long as you guys don't get caught and get us in trouble with the track owners, right?
Yeah.
And I know that you worked with Hawaii Raceway Park to do a sanctioned drifting event, like full on drifting, not drift up but don't get caught.
In order to do that, I had to do multiple groups. So I had two road racing groups and one drifting group. So I kind of based it off of what Speed Trial was doing. We're like, all right, we got like the drifter group, but in order to have enough drivers there and pay for the rental, rental fees and everything else, I invited a lot of my road racing friends. Like I was actually doing a lot of road racing, or I was trying to do the road racing stuff. So like SCCA had wheel-to-wheel racing in Hawaii. So I actually had a Toyota Corolla based for that, and autocrossing. I hate saying autocrossing. I hate autocrossing. But I get the fact. I get the fact that if you living in an area that does not have a whole lot of opportunity to go road racing or actually lap days on a racetrack, autocrossing is a good viable way of getting in a little bit of throttle time. We all need throttle therapy. But the fact that you get 3 laps and you're there all day for like 4 laps, and you get maybe 5 minutes of run time.
Maybe get into third gear. Maybe.
Yeah, you maybe.
Most
if it's a fast track, you'll get into third gear.
No.
Yeah. But I mean, when I met Taka, he was still big into autocross.
Yeah. He was a champion.
Yeah. But I'm like, why are you still doing that?
Nice.
But, to be fair, you mentioned people like Taka and Moto and those guys, and I feel like they did help step up drifting. They gave us a viable option where we can really learn, get good seat time for drifting. But when I first started, the only people that I knew that had drifting experience was you and what was that guy's name?
I want to say Brian
Norris.
Yeah.
The only
I want
two.
to say Brian.
Yeah, and Brian had a racing background too, like traditional pit driving.
Yeah.
Like when I went down to Southern California, like everybody was talking about how good Brian Norris can drift.
Yeah.
And then I saw him drive, and I'm like, no, I got that guy.
Yeah.
Done.
But you wouldn't consider yourself the first U.S. drifter, Alex?
Hey, I was kind of one of the ones that help perpetuate it, or help. I'm trying to come up with words for it, but yeah, I would say that I was probably one of the most serious in my 20s, my early 20s. That's all I wanted to do was to go drifting. And if it meant I had to rent the racetrack to go drifting, I rented the racetrack. I didn't if it meant I had to go to the mountain in the middle of the night, I went to the mountain in the middle of the night. Like anything I could do to go, if there was an event, it didn't matter how far it was, I was gonna go.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know anyone at 92 that was watching option videos and was inspired by it and went out to go drifting. I mean, I knew people that they would do donuts and they called that drifting. That's not drifting.
Yeah, I mean, people. What was nice about back then, a lot of my friends in Hawaii would actually show up, with their cars, and they would hand me the keys to their car just to watch their car get drifted around the turns and stuff.
That was a thing.
So I actually got to drive a lot of pretty cool cars, like 300 ZXs, brand new.
Oh wow!
Smooth wheels. Yeah. We actually had a crew back in Hawaii called Midnight Racing.
Okay.
And we actually all really good friends still to this day. And we did a reunion. They do reunions from time to time, but everybody we were all different car clubs back then. Midnight was the main one, so now everybody kind of goes back to Midnight. And to this day, everybody's still playing with cars. Now it's not like, you know, now they're driving Ferraris and now they got like fixed up, like anything you can imagine. Somebody's done something really crazy, trucks but we're all still car people.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle for us. So what year was it? This is before Drift Session when you did that, when you got the additional run group for drifting. Is that right? Like before Drift Session started?
What happened was I went back home to Hawaii and I found out that they were going to have a drifting event, like within like 3 or 4 weeks time. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hell no. I'm not flying back here to run Drift Session. So I straight called one of my friends, one of the guys I used to work with at the gas station. He's really good friends with he was actually working out of the shop that the owner, Paul had the lease for the racetrack for the drag racing. So I straight went to the shop and I'm like, what would it cost for me to rent the place on Wednesday night? So I straight rented it. Like, I'm on vacation in Hawaii. Yeah. And I had to borrow money from my dad. I'm like, Dad, can I borrow $3,500? I need it in cash.
He's like, what trouble are you in, son?
So he kind of looks at me funny, like, why? Yeah, why do you need all this cash? And I was like, I'm gonna go rent the racetrack. And he's like, why you rent? You know. I was
what
like,
business
no.
do you have, son?
Yeah, I was like, I'll give it back to you. Yeah. I'm like, I'll give it back to you on Thursday. Yeah. I just need it Wednesday.
Yeah. Nice. After I get my registrations.
Yeah. So he went to the bank. But he went to the bank and pulled the cash out so I could go down and actually like hand the cash to the track manager. Yeah. And like, all right, we got the place from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and I got on the phone, and before you know it, man, that place was like, it wasn't structured right, but it worked out great. Like, we could have made a lot of money off spectators. Mm-hmm. People were lining the fences because nobody could get into the racetrack. Yeah. We closed the gate.
Did they know what was going to happen there? That was the first drifting event.
The drivers told everyone. Is that right?
Well, yeah. So back then, it was no cell phone. So everybody's like calling,
leaving a message on the answering machine.
Yeah. So everybody's calling each other. And it's just like, hey, right now, Alex is in town, Hawaii Raceway Park, Wednesday night. Like, it was like a Wednesday or a Thursday. It wasn't even like a weekend. Mm-hmm. But like hundreds of people. And there was like probably 1,000, like, there's a huge amount of people on the fucking fence. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. People are all in the bushes. Like,
they're like pruning the bushes so they can see.
I had to, we didn't have any flags. Yeah. So I took my mom's old sheets. on sticks. Yeah.
Hey, but you had flags.
I sewed my own flags, like yellow and red flags for the different corners. Yeah. Because I didn't have so I had volunteers to help me do the corner working. Yeah. So I had the radios. Man, I even bought everybody dinner. So I had. Wow. So I went to my favorite local Korean restaurant and I ordered 20 bentos.
Nice. That beats cold Jack in the Box.
Yeah. I made sure to take care of anybody else helping me like do any events. So like it was one of those where like if you're gonna come out and you're gonna be in, if you're gonna be behind the fence, throwing the flag on the radio, like I'm gonna make sure you're getting at least dinner. You're gonna at least get something good to eat. Yeah. And
that's really an unappreciated job, I think, being a course worker.
Yeah, we all can attest to that.
Yeah, we've all done it. But so was the course layout for that the traditional course that we saw, when everyone was driving that track?
Yeah, we really didn't have much any other layout.
Okay. Can you, for the people that never saw videos from back then, can you describe the course layout?
The turns are actually pretty gangster. So at first, there's an off-camber section. The sweeper is actually really fast. Hawaii is kind of, it uses the drag strip as the main straightaway, and there's a couple cutoffs. And so right at the end of the drag strip, there's a cutoff. So that was the main turn most people wanted to practice drifting on, because it was pretty wide. You know, you had a pretty wide area to slide into it. But the other side of the track was a lot more technical. So like most people were learning to drift on the one turn. But once they kind of got the hang of it, after you're doing laps over and over again, after a while, if you hit the same turn over and over again, you're going to learn.
Yeah.
This is why like I was really about using racetracks, because you're not gonna, like autocrossing, you're only taking a turn 3 times, 4 times.
Yep.
You don't learn anything.
Right. And it's not back to back.
Yeah. Being able to do 20 minutes or 30 minutes of hitting that same turn over and over again actually helps you as a driver really figure it out.
Yeah, I remember that was, you know, we were on bigger racetracks out here when we were doing speed trial. Yes. And so you have so many corners if you're doing more than one lap in a row. So that made it hard. And then when we started doing regular sanctioned drift events, it was more autocross style where you get your lap and then you go line back up. And then you know.
I kind of like the when Drift Day came out and we started doing the like Auto Club Speedway, being able to have 3 or 4 different layouts. And you had enough time to hit that same track, 5-10 times. It was I felt that really helped everybody. Taka with his design,
Taka made some
course designs. Being able to have like a little skid pad area for the beginners, the J turn section, and then like 3 or 4 sweepers, with a kink in it.
And no walls to hit.
A lot of cones to hit. A lot of cones to hit.
I hit my share of cones, but no walls. That was my favorite part.
So for me, when all this racing was going on at Hawaii Raceway Park, I was paying a lot of attention to it because I know like in SoCal and over in Hawaii, it was kind of happening at the same time, but I felt like that course that you guys had over there in Hawaii, with using that drag strip, it really showed how you guys were progressing, and it seemed like you guys were progressing really fast.
Every time I went home and did another event or was a participant or like I progressed a lot after being up on the mainland and being able to run like bigger tracks and such. So every time I went back home, I would kind of jump in different people's cars and show them, hey, you can do this if you do this.
Yes.
Like you can, like most of them, they were, I'm not going to, Hawaii people might get mad at me for saying this, but being in Hawaii, everybody was just kind of following the same path. So like they were all doing the same thing over and over again. Every time I went home, I would show them something new. And then the next time I came back, all of a sudden, everybody's now, all right.
Yes.
Like, here's a manji into the corner. Like, now it's like manji all the way down the straightaway. And manji all the way down the straightaway and then hit the corner.
Yeah.
And then, every time I went back home, they progressed.
Right.
Like, significantly.
Because you you don't know you can do something until you see it with your own eyes.
Yes.
And I witnessed that, especially on that straight, where at first people were just going straight into the corner, right? No manji, right? Then I started seeing manji, but it was like really slow manji.
I think the time that really blasted it, or like really pushed Hawaii up was with
the Signal Twins. right?
Yeah, when Drift Show Off, we did Drift Show Off with Ken, with Ken. Yeah.
Shout out Ken Miyoshi.
Yes. Hey, he was a gangster back then. He's probably a gangster today, but most people like they didn't realize Signal was not like D1 Pro level.
Right.
At the time they were not.
Right.
But they were just a small
They're a bunch of like street guys.
Yeah. We saw them on Option.
Yeah.
The same guy that was over us, like it was one of the famous crashes you saw.
Komatsu. Komatsu when he crashed. Bihoku. He went up the hill all the way up the hill.
Like he meant to do it. It was so nice.
But so like nobody really knew who they were, and even the Japanese guys were like, oh, they're not that good.
Yeah, I'm sure they're saying, why did they get to go to the U.S., right? Out of all the people.
It was just the connection that we had to find somebody that wanted to and honestly, that whole group of people was so awesome to work with, and throwing on those events, I was kind of an angry person back then, so I was like yelling at people and stuff. I'm still the same person. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, you tell it how it is, Alex. You tell it how it is. You've always been that way.
Yeah, I'm straight to your face.
Yeah.
If you got, like you're doing it wrong.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's why we love you, for sure.
That's why I always asked you for advice on what I was doing wrong, because you would tell me.
Yeah. You're not hitting the gas enough. Stop being a...
Yeah. No joke. You would say that.
Yes.
That's the thing, though. Like, as mainland guys were getting better and Hawaii guys were getting better, every time I saw a video from Hawaii and Drift Session as they got better, it's like, just couldn't believe how fast those guys were going.
Yeah. And but I think it really started, Alex, when you mentioned the Signal guys, because even though they were not huge stars or the most skilled drifters in Japan, they were still so good. And when they came to Hawaii and they went down that straight, and we thought we saw fast manjiing. No, not until those guys got there.
I tried to explain to them like the day before. I'm like, dude, you guys didn't promote this event enough.
Yeah.
We should have had something on the radio or something like to like, you have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. This guy's going to come off the sweeper.
Yeah.
At the time, nobody was drifting the sweeper. Nobody in Hawaii.
Right.
I borrowed Wendell's car. This was the grip video. So on grip video, you see me actually like whack Wendell's car against the guardrail. But I was explaining, I was yelling at them that they did not, that he's not going to manji second gear down this thing. He's going to hit fourth gear. He's going to hit fourth gear coming off that turn, and one swoop, he's going to go into he's going to make it all the way down there. And everybody's like, there's no way.
It's impossible, right? Yeah.
It's impossible.
All the driving, I saw that it was like 6 or 7 manjis before you got to the hairpin, right?
Yeah.
Those guys did it in 3.
Yeah, well, he did it in one big swoop.
Oh, that's right. I did see that one. Yeah,
and I'm like, see, I told you. Yeah, I told you.
Yeah,
and as soon as he did that, like everybody's on the phones, like calling up all their friends.
Get over here.
Get over here. You got to see this. It's one of those where like everybody's all like, it's like being autocrossers, and then all of a sudden every turn into drifters.
Guys. And I remember they would open the door too, going down the street.
Yeah. Not as often. Like I kind of like I was one of the ones that made rules like that, where like you don't put your hand out the window. Remember back then, everybody used to like
yes.
But I was one of the ones that like made a rule, man. You put your hand out the window, you're out.
Yeah.
You open your door, you're out.
Yeah.
Like you do any kind of like I used to do rodeos. Right?
I was gonna say.
I also banned. I also banned.
Yeah.
Once I became judge, I was like, no.
That's funny.
Like you're getting a 0. I see your hand come out the window, you get a 0.
Yep, I remember that. So you moved to NorCal, and you find an 86, and that was the car that I don't know if today's generation recognizes you for an 86, but for me, like I always associated you with an A86, even though you have several cars since then. That's what...
At the time, I was actually working at Sears Point. So
Okay.
how I got to the mainland, my mom told me she'd pay for any school after college, or like, I mean, any school that I wanted to go through after high school. So, you know, the back of the SCCA magazine, there's the Jim Russell Racing School, mechanics training course. So, unfortunately, I mean, so I told my mom, like, hey, right there, that's a school. So I ended up going to NorCal and going to that Jim Russell Racing School. And honestly, it wasn't to actually be in the school. It was because they allowed you to drive the Formula Fords.
Nice.
They allowed you to take the actual racing school.
Right.
So part of your mechanics training was to actually be a driver in the school. So you understood.
Got it.
So I got up to NorCal. I was working at that Russell Racing School. This is where I met like Tyler McQuarrie.
Yeah.
This is,
Wow.
So and I used to talk about running Tantalus, and he's like, "What the hell is this drifting?"
You gotta say it right. You gotta say it right.
and you know, Tyler McQuarrie's like, "What are you talking about drifting? You're
Yeah.
just going to the mountain."
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, bro, trust me, I can outdrive you. Like, we go to a mountain right now.
Yeah.
I'll
You don't
drive
even know,
you.
bro.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. You're a Formula One driver. I'll kick your ass on a mountain. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know?
I know you said it just like that.
Yeah.
That was always the reaction when you talk about drifting to any race car, like autocross,
God.
road racer. You always got that
No,
reaction.
and then they go.
So I was ended up working with all these race car guys, but I was kind of like in Hawaii. People knew me as a drifter.
Yeah.
So Northern California, they you know, I met up with a bunch of the Corolla guys, and once I met that group of people, like I used to run the mountain every weekend. So I used to run Tamalpais, like the backside of Mount Tam and stuff. There's like a Bolinas Fairfax Road that's like reminds me of Tantalus, you know, and it's like one lane, you know, barely wide enough to, you know, drift on cliffs on both sides.
Yeah.
And so we used to get a group going every Friday night or Saturday night. All the Bay people would meet up. All the Corolla guys would meet up with me, and then I'd take them on a run. Luckily, I knew the two sheriffs that actually worked all of the Highway 1. So like Bolinas, Point Reyes, Nicasio, all out that side. They were customers of ours at the shop I was working at. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Anyway, I was doing the Russell Racing School. I quit the Russell Racing School 6 months early. The next day, I got a job on a Porsche racing team. So I was doing...
Is that S-Cargo?
No. Back then, it was the Racers Group.
Okay.
That's how I met the owner of S-Cargo. The owner of... we had 3 full-time mechanics, but we had 2 race cars. We ran Daytona 24 hours, Sebring, Le Mans, Petit Le Mans. We did, we were traveling the country, going to all these big name racetracks with these Porsches and doing like club events, and it was a huge step up in my eyes as far as like everybody's kind of gone to their local like SCCA or NASA event or their local events, but when you're actually traveling all the way to Daytona to go run Porsche Club of America, and Porsche Club of America actually runs their event basically a few weeks and like a month in advance of Daytona, and in that way the Porsche guys get to practice with their toys before the 24 hours. So like we're flying back and forth to Florida, we're flying to Atlanta, we're flying to, that was a lot of work. Yeah. There's 3 of us that were like the main guys. And then there was like 10 or 15 other help like workers. A lot of them were their own shop owners. They were there to learn knowledge and to... So it's kind of hard it was really hard to kind of organize everybody, but we did fairly well. I want to say for what we were doing. The racers group, if you look them up today, man, they've won everything from Le Mans, Nürburgring to. I was there when that company kind of started. Robbie, the owner of S-Cargo, was actually like the head. He wasn't the head mechanic, but everybody knew when he showed up, that guy was the one you went to for anything. He was also the one that got me started on having Gatorades.
Very dark colored Gatorades.
And for some reason we had a Gatorade machine, a couple Gatorade machines in our shop. But he would be able to take almost anything apart, put it back together more fast than you could blink your eye. Like I've seen him rebuild like a Hewland transmission in like, do an axle change on a 911 in under 5 minutes while the rotor's still glowing.
Right.
So
your experience working with race cars, is that what helped you start Battle Version?
Honestly, that was kind of the influence. The racers group actually sold Porsche parts. Mm-hmm. So I helped develop, like sway bars and control arms and things for the Porsche market. And I was like, why am I building it for these guys when I could just build it for my car?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I started Battle Version.
Okay.
I wanted the same parts for my car. I was working on, high-end, race cars all the time. And I'm like, if that works on a car mm-hmm. that just ran 24 hours at Daytona, man, I want that on my car.
Yeah.
I don't, so that's how it influenced me to kind of start my own product line. I really didn't care to make a product line. Mm-hmm. I honestly, the Battle Version really wasn't the goal. Mm-hmm.
It's just to make cool stuff for yourself.
It started off with making cool stuff for myself, but it also, all right, let's go back to where we have all the Corollas going up to the mountain on the weekends. So I'm doing these races, but I'm hanging out with all the Corolla guys on the weekends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I have access to making cool parts. Yeah. Like, let's like, I just made a ladder rod for my car.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
It used to be $450 from Cusco and take you 6 months to get.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I made this for my car. Hey, like, ride in this. Then everybody's like, oh, wow, that feels great. Like, and everybody, hey, make me one.
Yeah.
Make me, like, everybody else is like, hey, make one for me. Like, all right. And like, $200? Half price of Cusco.
Right.
Half price of Cusco. I'll do it. Fine. Before I knew it, I had a line of them.
Yeah.
It was funny that way, how I didn't really choose to get into the making or mm-hmm. manufacturing of parts, but I really looked at it as like helping the community get better products than what was out there.
Right. And I don't think people appreciate all of the engineering and experience that went into the parts, your parts, because people look at, they look at a rod and they're like, oh, it's just a rod. What is the difference between Cusco, Battle Version, and some like Chinese knockoff? But there's so much more to it that you brought to it, like the materials, or I remember your bearings were different, or like the way you would design, the way you would weld certain things in certain places so that it would shear at the right, when it was appropriate, or hold when it was appropriate. And I think it's sad that people don't understand all of that stuff that you bring to the table with your product line.
I mean, when you hit something, you kind of want the suspension arm to break, not bend your chassis.
That's right.
It's one of those where you kind of want to replace the one part. Like you kind of on the race cars, you have shear points. Mm-hmm. So the suspension is bolted up to a couple pieces of metal. So if you do hit something, it breaks off.
Right.
Like you don't want it to completely destroy the car.
Right.
I feel like that's why Battle Version is so successful, is because your intention wasn't to like make cool parts and get famous. It was just make a part, a good part, and like give back and like let my homies have good parts. And then it turned into something more. But I feel like that foundation is the reason why you're so successful.
I don't want to call myself successful because I'm not nearly, I'm not big. I like not being big because I still make all my own product.
That's right. You can control all the quality because it comes from you. It's all done by your hands.
You're big enough,
so
dude.
Everything that comes out, like I'm the one putting it together. It goes in the box. You buy it off the website. And I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to make billions of dollars. Right. Or I'm not trying to be big.
Yeah.
I don't want to be big.
Well, you're going
because
big
then
now.
I have to work.
You're going to be big now that you're on this podcast.
That's right. So if you are in the market for some parts for your Japanese drift car, don't look at. I might make some enemies right now, but buy it from Battle Version.
Let's get off the subject.
Yeah. Next.
we could talk about Battle Version later. Let's go back to.
We were talking about Battle Swing.
Yes. So basically, like that's Battle Swing was all of us that were hanging out in the Bay Area. Like Takahiro Fujita, like all right, the first time I went to speed trial, we were on the mountain and I burned off my rear tires, right? And we're just like hanging out there talking story, talking about we're just talking story and stuff. And they were like, hey, there's a drifting event this weekend at Buttonwillow. I'm like, what? Like this is before I had, this is like, and they mentioned, oh yeah, there's a forum, Club 4AG. Yep. And I'm like, who? And they're like, yeah, there's that was like the first time we saw like a post of there's the drift group in Speed Trial USA. Yep. And I was like, no way. And this is Friday night, and I think it was like Sunday, or like it was like Sunday or like I can't even remember the days. Anyway, I told Hiro, I was like, I'm gonna pick you up 3 a.m. I'm coming. Yeah, I'm picking you up 3 a.m. So Takahiro, like a good friend that he is, I was like, I ain't got tires. He's like, I got tires. I'm calling him. I'm driving from Marin through San Francisco down to Daly's, and I'm calling him like over and over again, like, wake the hell up, wake up. Like I'm already on my way. We're going to this racetrack. We have no idea where this racetrack is. All we know is it's down I-5.
It's way down.
So
I'm calling him. So like 2 a.m. I'm calling him. 3 a.m. I'm calling him. Yeah. I wake his ass up at like 3 a.m. because, like, dude, even from NorCal to Buttonwillow, 3 a.m. is still like, you got to be at the driver's meeting at like 7:30.
7, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I finally wake his ass up when I'm like 20 minutes away. I'm like, I'm almost there. Like, let's go. Like, get and brush your teeth. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, like he's like half broken, Japanese, like, oh, hello, Alex. He doesn't say So I wake his ass up. He comes. What's funny is he comes outside. He's looking at me. He's just like barely standing, barely waking up. Then he wheels out 2 brand new tires. Nice. He wheels out 2 brand new tires. Like I put my 2 tires on the car that I thought were like good enough.
But they were not brand new.
When you go to a mountain, you don't burn off a set of tires that quick. Yeah. Like you got all night. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you're not putting brand new tires on your car.
Right.
We went down the Buttonwillow for a speed trial, and I went through my tires probably before 9 a.m., 8 a.m. Because all of a sudden you went from drifting one corner once at a time to like you got the whole place to play on.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I smoked those tires pretty quick. I don't know if you saw that picture of like me and Moto. Moto comes over and is like, "Hey, I'm Moto."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Hi, Moto. It's good to meet you."
Yeah.
You're like,
I like that little head bob you're doing. Hello.
And he comes over like, "Hey, you look pretty cool. You're not in Southern California." No, we came from NorCal.
Yeah.
They're all like, "Oh, I used to be in NorCal," you know?
Yeah. Speaking of button willow, and the first time I met you, I remember it's very vivid for me, Alex, because we were not very good back then, right? None of us were, and actually, Mark has video. He was taking video on the course, and there's a corner called the on ramp. And
I'm trying to remember which one that is.
So there's at the start line, there's the long straight down Button Willow, and then I think there's a chicane, and then a left, and then a right into the on ramp.
Is it Magic
The
Mountain?
one that
kind of uphill hairpin.
Yeah. So
that one section that turns like the little.
That's Magic.
Yeah, next to the skid pad where people would watch, right?
Yeah, it was right next to the skid pad, but
the part nobody could see. It's like
unless you're like sitting on the dirt.
Yeah,
but so
like nobody could see that section.
Yeah, so but Mark was videoing, and I was able to, drift the left-hand corner and then right into the on-ramp, and that was a big deal at the time. And you can hear Mark's video where people are like, "Oh!" when I connected it, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, but
and then I came in.
But you were there, Alex. You were there.
I drifted the whole thing.
You were manjiing down the straight, and we're like, "Who's this guy?"
I was probably drifting that whole thing.
You were.
You were happy just to drift one or two of the curves.
I was.
And I was like, I got this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So that was the crazy thing for drifting to be where it was, and kind of a lot of people being around the same skill level, and you were there, and you were leaps and bounds better than everybody.
Well, back then, yeah, like nobody else had practice. I had a lot of practice.
Yeah.
That's why I used to have to like talk people. Hey, jump in with me.
Yeah.
One of the rules I had with the battle swing guys, I had a rule. When we went to the mountain, there was like a section. You always had like a section that we would practice on or play on, right? Anytime somebody would go to the mountain with me, newbies. Any new guy would have to be in the back of the line. Mm-hmm. When we get to the mountain, you have to jump in with me.
Yeah.
For one run, and literally it was just to explain to them these are rules. Mm-hmm. Like this is the rule. I would blast the mountain, and as I'm blasting the mountain, I'll tell them the rules. Like, you don't tell anybody about this place. Yeah. You don't bring nobody to this place.
The rules of the mountain.
You only run. Only run when we're running.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You only. This is my mountain. Yeah. I own this mountain.
Yeah.
It's like surfers in Hawaii as my wave. This is our wave. You can't.
Yeah.
Father Toge
like same thing. Same thing. Oh, turtle, get off the beach.
Love that movie. Alex, you know that movie is about drifting, right? Yeah. You think it's about surfing. It's actually about drifting. Yeah.
How come you don't want to talk about battle version?
I don't want to promote, like.
You don't want to be judged, like, oh, he's just on here to promote his shit. You just don't want to grow
anymore. Like right now, you're kind of.
I really don't care. Like it's the way I feel about it. Like if we're recording, right?
Yeah.
The way I feel about it is your car.
Yeah.
If you want to go buy some jackass shit, it's up to you.
Yeah.
The truth from Alex.
I only produce parts for cars that I drove. Yeah. And I did. The whole angle kit everybody's buying today. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, I understand. You need to be able to stop sideways.
I love it.
It's kind of stupid, but it is stupid. The drifter mentality today is not the same drifter mentality we had.
I know.
It's not.
The whole being able to drive a stock car fast has kind of gone away.
Right.
People are
overbuilding their machines and they're not even at that level yet.
To compensate. Yeah. You have to remember that back in the day, like the reason why I was able to drift multiple corners was the fact that I would not lift. I'd go into that thing as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Like you're going to lose speed. I had no horsepower.
Yeah.
No horsepower whatsoever.
Yep.
So the faster you go into the corner, and most people just didn't have the balls to kind of go in.
Yeah.
Like you have to go in full speed to carry that momentum.
Yep.
And that was kind of Club 4AG. Mm-hmm. Club 4AG was more about momentum. It wasn't really about... It really wasn't about like having power.
Taka knew exactly what he was doing when he designed the courses because he knew that his courses needed to teach something. It wasn't just like, it wasn't like, enter this corner and do this huge circle. It's not about that. It was about using the momentum, using the speed of the car for things.
I did get to drive Taka's car. I think I'm the only one that ever got to drive Taka's car.
When it was a 20 valve, right?
No. I got to drive his car. No. After that.
Okay.
I got to drive his car after he got out of FD.
So it was competition.
So
car.
it was like the real H box.
Oh geez.
With the was it 2ZZ?
Dude, I don't
was that
even
Scion
know.
motor? The 800 horsepower.
I didn't know he
four
had
banger.
That. Yeah.
Maybe it's 600. I don't know.
Yeah.
He probably turned it down. It's funny because when I jumped in it, it was like this. I'm like,
Alex couldn't fit in the seat. Is what he's doing right now.
Taka's looking at me. I was like, I got it. Don't worry.
Steer with your chin.
Taka's looking at me like, dude, the disheartening part of that, honestly, it was my birthday, right? Mm-hmm. We went to All-Star Bash, and it was my birthday. I was like over there like...
You're sitting there, please, like the kitty dog, the puppy doggy eyes. Please.
I'm like, and Taka's like, okay.
Oh my god.
You might be the only one to drive it, but you also might be the only one who's asked him to drive it.
Well, I bet you other people probably wanted to.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone would have the balls to ask Taka to drive his car.
Did he give you the speech? The what ifs? Like
not really like what ifs. It was more or less like, yeah, here you go. Wow. Taka, he's pretty straight.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have much conversation. You have to like get it out of him.
Yeah.
Like me and Taka go back a while, so like I know how to like. Yeah. I mean, he was the one that talked me into driving the Megan car. I didn't really want to drive the Megan car. I was like, why am I gonna spend a season with you dumbasses?
I know. I always thought that was weird, Alex. It's like your battle version. You're gonna drive the Megan car of all cars.
Yeah.
But why
that's the worst part.
What did
you know what
say?
I mean? And for them to ask me to like build and drive their car, honestly, I was working out of their shop at the time. I really didn't have a shop to work out of, so I had to kind of go with the flow.
Yeah. And
the flow at that time, dude, John Rusikoff was, I love that guy too.
Yeah.
JSP Fab, Cyrus, and they're all like, come on, join us. Come on. We had like a meeting one night with like all of us in the shop with, and they're like, come on. They're like, all right, we're going to give you a budget of this much. And I'm like, all right. I was like, you know what? You guys are all telling me I should do this. I don't want to be involved. I really don't want to be involved, but all you guys are pushing me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I give up. Like, there's like 10 people like telling me, come on.
Peer pressure.
Come on.
Peer pressure. Oh my god.
And I'm like, I'm like, dude, I came out of a Corvette. You give me a 350Z.
A pink one.
Dude, when they showed me the suit, I was like, oh, God.
I could not believe you put that suit on Alex.
Yeah. No, the worst part was like we all had to get fitted for the suits, right?
Yeah.
So you know how you do the you
yeah.
get the thing and you fit the thing up. Dude, it wasn't the first time I get an RS-R suit, how we talked about the RS-R suit earlier.
Yeah.
The RS-R suit, like they had that in centimeters. So in centimeters, so I put on this, you know, like they're measuring me in centimeters, you know.
Yeah.
Instead of inches.
Right.
So like when the suit showed up, all of a sudden, like you got that ball sack. Like all of a sudden, a couple centimeters short down there. Like, you know, like, you know, like here to here, it needs a little, like,
oh my God. And you know what? Okay, you know, I have a funny memory. I hope this makes the podcast. I remember distinctly when we were at the RS-R Drift Festival and you were wearing the RS-R suit.
Did I do the jump and the ball?
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. And also at that same event, you were like, "Oh man, my hernia is flaring up right now."
Dude, my balls used to look like a camel toe. So it was like my hernia was like the middle nut. And then you always got the short nut, so I got like the short one on the left, and then the.
Guys, if you're not watching on YouTube, you better tune in to that part because he's giving us visuals.
And you did the rodeo. You were like, "Oh man, I got to do the rodeo," and I got this hernia flaring up.
God, you guys
miss me in drifting.
Yeah, man.
Oh, we hella miss you. Oh
Cheers.
my God.
Woo, cheers.
Kampai.
Alex, I have a very fond memory with you at the very first Formula D event in Atlanta.
How drunk were you, or how drunk was I?
I mean, I don't know how drunk you were. I know that you and I. Okay, so what happened was we went through. Was it top 16 when we got eliminated?
I got eliminated. Okay, I went against Sam Hubinet, right?
Let's get him.
I went against like the fucking Dodge Viper, and this is after I tested the Dodge Viper.
So did I.
And I refused.
So
and
did
I was there with Angelo. Mm-hmm. We were the first ones to test it. They got mad at me because
you and I were on separate days, I think.
Auto Club Speedway, right?
Yes.
The black one.
It was the whole parking lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was using the poles.
Yeah.
As
clipping
the
points.
car's so fucking fast. So I was using the poles as
clipping as
apexes
cones?
or
they got so mad at me. Hey,
they wanted you to set up a course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they pulled the car out on Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Yes.
They pulled the car out on Hoosiers, and I'm all, dude, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. Okay. Before you get into it, let me give some background story to this.
Yes.
So Mopar they were interested in drifting, but they didn't know if their cars were viable. So I had, I don't remember how it happened, but there was a guy at Mopar who reached out to a bunch of us and basically said like, hey, the way it was explained to me was it was kind of like a driver search. They were looking for a driver. They were also, they wanted to see if their cars were viable for drifting. So they picked some guys. You were one of them. I was one of them. And they had 2 separate days. So I wasn't there the day you were doing it. But so they rented California Speedway. Yeah, you were the first day. And they brought out their competition spec Vipers. One was the Benihana one. And the other one, I forgot what the other one was. It was
blue.
just Mopars.
Yeah, it was just a Mopar competition spec Viper.
Good thing they brought out the Benihana one, because if not,
the other one was junk.
Wouldn't have a good.
That's true. So they brought us out, and I don't know what your experience was, Alex, but they had their full crew, like race crew, out there, ready to make any changes you thought needed to happen to the car, alignment specs, ride height, like any kind of adjustments. It was like my first experience with a real racing crew. I'm sure you already had that. And
that's why I kind of thought it was a joke.
Okay.
They showed up to a fucking parking lot.
Yeah.
And you're pulling out a fucking you're pulling out a rig with this car, and like as soon as I see the car come off, I'm all, dude, it's on the wrong tires.
Yeah, it was ready for a regular track event.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, are you gonna change those tires?
Yeah.
And Sean looks at me. You know, and he was like a big player back then.
That's right. I remember.
And I'm looking at him like, are you got this right or what?
Yeah.
Like
they knew nothing about drifting.
He got the rig.
Yeah.
He got the, like he's got all this.
Yeah.
The only thing between you and the ground is the tires.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got the wrong tires, bro.
Yeah. So I didn't go through that. Did they have tires available that day, or did you end up
after I said that to him?
Yeah.
Sean Carlson, but he learned real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You know me, like I'll point you out real quick.
Yeah. And so you told him to fix the tires.
Yeah, I'm like, wrong tires, bro.
Yeah.
So you got to drive it after I fixed it.
I did. I did, and I felt very lucky for that. I remember that you went through it the day before, and actually I talked to you about it before I drove it the next day.
I think you called me like, hey, they're gonna let me, like they want me to test this thing. I'm like, bro, they got some shit to learn, but I was like.
Yeah.
But I kind of remember you calling me that night.
Yeah. It was leaps and bounds better than how you're describing it for me, but there was still a lot wrong with the cars.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But we couldn't change any of it.
There's only so much they could change, right?
Yeah.
And I remember they kept wanting me to go into... There were two cars. Did you drive both cars?
You had two cars. No, when they showed up, it was only one car the first day.
Which car did you get to drive in?
The white one, not the Benihana.
The white one was garbage, Alex.
Yes.
Yeah.
The white one was so bad.
They got mad at me. They got mad at me the way I was driving the thing. But I mean, like they didn't bring any cones, so I was using all the telephone poles as cones.
Yeah. The second day they brought cones, and they brought the second car.
Well, I told them we got this parking lot. Why didn't she give me like? They're like, hey, you shouldn't use the fucking telephone poles as clipping points. I'm like, what else do I got to measure?
That's right.
It's like you're asking me to test this car.
Yeah.
In a parking lot that's bigger than most racetracks.
Right.
And they're like, hey, you're getting too close to the poles. And I'm like, bro, what? Like, the parking lots.
That's right. It's so big. Yeah. They asked me to design the course, and the second day they brought Tarzan out that day.
Oh yeah.
So I felt a little bit of pressure because I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this."
No way, you got
Tarzan.
to drive with Tarzan with that?
I didn't get to drive with Tarzan, but
but I mean, Tarzan was there.
Yeah, Tarzan was there, and I noticed he was really quiet all day because he didn't know anything about drifting either. You know, he can power slide the heck out of a car.
Yeah.
But when it came to drifting, he didn't know what he was doing. And I was like, you know, like that's cool. Like we all looked up to Tarzan because we all looked up to what Option Video was doing. But, you know, people did I don't know, people didn't realize that like what does this guy know about drifting, right? But that car was
he was Japanese and he was cool. Yeah,
that's right. He was in the videos.
Yeah.
But that Benihana car was at the end of the day when I was done, you know, making my suggestions to the car, it was so easy to drift. And I was like, anyone can get in this car and drift. You don't even need you don't need first gear. You don't need third gear. You just stay in second the whole time. You don't need to do anything.
Second and fourth.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And I was like, here's Tarzan at these, you know, doing all these demos for Formula D. I'm like, people think he's awesome, but man, that car was so easy.
You knew how bad it was.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I said that wrong, but you know how easy it was.
Yeah.
I I remember the first Formula D event. All right, so let's change the topic real quick.
Okay.
So the first Formula D event really was Atlanta.
Yes.
So I pay. I guess Formula D or somebody a part of Formula D in order to ship my car to Formula D.
Yeah, we were paying Formula D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Formula D, because it was the first event, they were handling all the logistics of trailer, because they needed us to be there for their series to be successful. So they were doing us a favor, but we were also doing them a favor by getting our cars out there.
Wait. Oh my God, I want to bring up a whole different topic. Remember there was about the drivers.
What's that?
When there was about doing a driver union.
Yes. This was before Formula D started, and we were talking.
No, this is after Formula D started. Remember, it was like kind of between like Nopi.
It was Formula D and it was XDC.
XDC.
And XDC was trying to get us to say we're gonna drive with you the full season, and Formula D was like, no, we need you to drive our series full season.
I remember in a different podcast you guys started talking about this conversation, but I do want to say something about that because I was the one that brought everybody over, and that was when I was working at G Dimensions, the Southern California.
Yeah,
and I was the one that brought everybody in.
Yeah, there were some meetings.
Yeah, that had, like I said, like we as drivers kind of need to talk about this.
That's right.
Because back in the day, like I was the one that kind of organized some of the drift events or helped organize a lot of the drift events. Dude, shout out to, man, I can't say I said shout out, but shout out like Ken Mayoshi, man. Like they shout out to a lot of the players back in the moto more than anybody else, and everybody's gonna say that. But like I was one of the ones that kind of wanted more of a drivers union. I feel like the drifters today are getting shafted. They pay money for something that they don't ever get.
For a dream.
Well,
like they never get a piece of the pie. Formula D, D1, XDC.
That was the discussion when we had those meetings, was like, because we were so used to looking up to D1 and wanting to be at that level and being on that platform, that we were blind to what we were bringing to the table. And I think that's one of the things those meetings helped us to understand, was like, without us, these series don't exist.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, they built the series on our backs for sure. And I remember those meetings, and it was always like, should we be driving right now? It's going to pour rain. Like, are they doing this for ratings? Or, hey, should they be doing fireworks and not telling us? Like things like that, remember?
Yeah. Ken going straight into the
poor Ken.
But I remember those meetings were great because it was like we were getting feedback and we were talking and we were trying to be a union. And yeah, I don't know what's going on these days, but I know
were you there that night?
Hell yeah, I was there last night. Yeah, that night.
That night, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that G Dimensions meeting, the one in the warehouse. But that got us all together, and I remember it was a really heated discussion.
Yeah.
And some people felt really strong one way and the other way.
I got a cease and desist order that night
from Slipstream,
XDC.
From XDC. I didn't know about that.
Well, he couldn't tell you. Cease and desist. What did it say?
Honestly, I was talking too much. Yes.
Okay.
How'd you feel about that?
Honestly, it's one of those nights where I wish things went better.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it was kind of growing pains for us because we're bumping up to the next level.
Man, things were changing so fast during those times.
Yeah.
And we were all just like grassroots guys, and then all of a sudden we were at this point where like we were deciding the fate of someone's business.
Yeah, I feel like we were making the decision which way we're gonna go, left or right.
That's right.
And
that's not even to mention D1, right? There were 3 major players in this decision, which way to go. And, I think at the end of the day, even though we had strong opinions from both sides, we decided to go with Formula D. And, who's to say if we didn't make the decision to go with like XDC, or maybe made the decision to go with neither and just stick with D1, like today might be a very different picture.
I was surprised at how many people actually showed up that night. Like everybody
did.
Like, dude, that was a big night. That was a pretty big for just us as drivers to be like, hey, we need to talk as drivers.
Yeah.
Everybody showed up.
Yeah.
It was one of those nights.
Yeah.
And also I think that was a crossroads where maybe drifting for some of us was becoming less fun. And that's kind of like the change, right? The shift.
Yeah. Do we become a business?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is it about the money now? Like all of a sudden, like we had to kind of.
That really was my argument. That's always been my argument. As I would put on events, and I would charge the drivers minimal amount
to cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just cover charge. Mm-hmm. Here's your chair. Like here's a VIP room. You know, like I'm not making money. I was never trying to make money off doing events. I was always kind of promoting events or helping events happen in order to just kind of keep the dream going.
That's right.
Yeah. Keep it fun.
The dream didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's the dream on this podcast right now. We're talking about.
But the memories of the stupid stuff that we did back then.
Okay, that's the perfect segue I was waiting for, Alex.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about some of this fun memories.
I remember some of the one of the greatest things Moto used to do was having the one night a year where he bought like the restaurant. Yeah, and we would all show up at the restaurant.
Yeah, what's the name of the
restaurant?
Oiwake.
Oiwake.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So good. Yeah. That second floor restaurant in J-Town. That was really nice.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
So let's talk about fun drunken times, Alex.
Yes. Hey, cheers.
Cheers, Alex.
Don't say drunken times without drinking something.
Cheers, Alex. So, we were at Formula D, the very first Formula D.
Oh yeah, I was hammered.
You and I got knocked out. Was it top 16 when we got knocked out?
No. The very first Formula D. I don't think I wasn't even in it.
You were in it. No, you were in it. You were in your Corolla.
Oh, wait.
It was flat black with the graffiti on the side.
I thought you said D1. Sorry.
No. Formula D.
So we're in Atlanta. Yes, I get knocked out by Sam. I get knocked out by Sam.
You were knocked out by Sam. Was it top 16?
No.
Top 8? Top 8.
Me and the funny thing was, the drivers meeting. I remember, the drivers meeting really well because we went in to the drivers meeting and they had to line up the drivers, and it was the first time they put the thing. What's funny is Formula D can't even get the numbers straight between. So the numbers were like all.
I don't remember that.
It was on paper.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even have a computer yet to put the top 16 in the freaking ladder. Yeah. And everybody's like, who's going against who?
Right.
And but the first person announced was Alex Pfeiffer, Sam Hubernet.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, this is going to be good.
Right, so Alex in the Hachiroku and Sam, the professional race car driver in a Viper.
The white
and
Viper.
And everybody was like,
yeah.
It did set everybody off. Like all of a sudden, everybody had like that. oh,
yes.
like everybody was like, all right, we're now it's happening.
Yeah,
like, everybody
that was kind of the clash of two worlds right there. It happened at the very first event.
Yeah,
the race car driver versus the grassroots. I mean, I don't know if I want I don't want to call anyone out, but like we were the guys who loved drifting from day one, right? And then here comes these guys who are trying to capitalize on this new sport. That's how I felt.
I kind of felt the same way. That's why I wanted to become when I became a judge. I kind of wanted to like clearer
rules to even the playing field a little bit, right?
Yes, the fact that like their image of drifting and our image of drifting was totally different.
Yes, yes.
I was about the little guy.
Yeah,
I was about the underdog. I was about the local.
Right. I think that's what made us love drifting was that anyone could win, right? If you knew if your judging was right, a Hachiroku could beat a Viper.
But they're 150 horsepower Corolla.
Yeah.
600 horsepower factory built Viper.
Yeah. Two chassis and everything. There. Yes.
Yeah. Shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Sam took you out because Sam.
It was an epic battle. They actually have that on YouTube. Like it's one of the only YouTube videos from 2004 that still exists.
So even though he knew to take as a seasoned race car driver, as an ice racing driver, he knew he could take the inside line and push you out. He ended up winning that round, right? So you were out.
Yep. Then we went drinking.
You were knocked out, and I remember you and I were both knocked out, and because it was so far from the pit area, right? We were just standing around. There was nothing to do, right?
We're at the grid.
Dude, the Atlanta boys, dude. I love that crowd.
was the best.
Yes, the Atlanta dudes.
Shout out.
The Yingling.
Yeah, I mean, yes, Yingling.
No, Yingling. That was the first time I think I ever had a Yingling.
Me too. And so there were guys tailgating on the hill, like right next to where we were staging.
Talking about getting knocked out.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
Yes.
Twisted
Tea original.
I don't know
what
the hell is
that, Alex? You brought all the things.
I grabbed the wrong can, but I'm going to drink it anyway.
Okay. So we were just sitting there. You and I had nothing to do. You and I don't know about you, but I hated being knocked out and just being forced to sit there and watch.
Oh, yeah.
And then there were a bunch of fans there.
Yeah, like, they were yelling at us.
Yeah. And they were like, hey, come hang out with us,
jump
right?
The fence,
jump the fence. So you and I, we jumped the fence. And
it's a tall fence.
It was a really tall fence because it's a racetrack, right? It's not like some dinky little like house fence. We climbed over in our full racing suits and we were hanging out with those guys. I had a blast.
No, but you have to. Left out the part where Alex doesn't wear anything under his racing suit.
Alex, you have no t-shirt under your
usually
racing
you wear
suit.
like, if you're legit, you wear like the Nomex under thing or whatever, but he just straight up had his nipples under his.
You had your nipples out. You had your No. I want to complete that. You not only had your nipples out, you had your nipple ring out.
Yeah, I used to have a much better tan back then. The tan's gone away, man. I haven't gone the whole way in a minute.
We jumped the fence and we were hanging out with these dudes and we were having a blast. We were drinking with those guys and watching the event go on as a spectator.
We were as spectators. Actually, it was pretty fun to yell at go 9-0 Chris Versberg,
right?
We were over there just drinking and we couldn't see much, but we're against the fence yelling at everybody.
Yeah.
Go!
Was it just you and me, Alex, or were there any other people out there doing that with us?
Were there other people?
I only remember you and me.
Other drivers? I don't remember.
I think it was just
honestly, there was a couple of people that came in, had a beer, and then bounced out.
Yeah, you and I were
we
you and I were
stayed there
drinking
for a while.
Yeah,
we stayed there for a while.
But
then it got to what was it? Top 4? I think it was top 4. And
who was top 4 that day?
I don't even know.
Reese Millen, Samuel Hubin.
Those are the only guys
I want to guess JR and
maybe was
Chris
it
Forsberg,
Hero?
but I'm pretty sure it was Dai or Ken.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But anyway, no one told us anything. Ken got knocked out. No one told us anything because this was the very first Formula D. We had no idea what to expect, what the format was like. Yeah. So we were just out there partying like our day was over, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they were taking a break for top 4, and they announced all the guys that got knocked out. It's time to do a demo.
To go drive again. I was all about that. I was like, let's go.
I'm primed and ready.
I've never done that.
I get to go I get to go drive the track again?
Yeah. No one knew what you and I were doing, Alex. We just jumped the fence. We got in the car. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. I got Nadine. Nadine got in the passenger seat with me.
I was in the passenger seat too. I was like, are you sure you're going to do this?
Yeah, she was. They didn't care.
Oh my God. Good times, man.
I'm following Alex.
Yeah, I kicked the door open.
He's driving. Yeah.
Oh my God. Those are the good.
I honestly really love the days when we actually had like the demo things, like in between the top 16, or when we actually had like the demo part of the thing.
Yeah.
Where you actually got to like, I mean, now sideshows, it's like a sideshow.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I get it. It's now it isn't impressive anymore. Yeah. But those days, like just being able to go out there and like burn fucking tires off and enjoy a car and enjoy being a part of it was something. Now there ain't no something.
I mean, that was the first time Atlanta has seen pro drifting. So they were so excited, and for us to be able to like enjoy that while they were enjoying that, like that was one of my favorite memories, I think.
That's what it was all about.
I don't want to say it. Shout out. I hate saying shout out to people.
You sound like a young person.
Just say it. Team
Rowdy. Always there.
Yeah.
That's Team Rowdy.
Yep.
So, Alex, you competed in Formula D. You became a judge. You cleaned things up in Formula D. You drove the Tanaka Corvette. And then you finished out competing in what car? What was it?
The Megan 350Z.
Oh, okay. And then after that, like we didn't see you again, right? Like you stopped competing.
I helped out like Pat Mardon and stuff as far as doing a help, right? And literal. Like I was doing what's those people called that sit in the spotter people.
But I mean, as a competition,
people.
as a competition driver and pro, why did you stop? I mean, you may have helped out other people, but like, what made you stop competing?
Sorry, I didn't like the way drifting was going.
How so?
I really didn't. I mean, I'll say it. The people that are involved in pro drifting really aren't there for drifters. Mm-hmm. They are there for marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, you don't have to be shy.
It's like going to a SEMA show.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bunch of show.
Yeah.
It's a show.
It is a show.
It's sad that it's come to that it's been taken over.
Formula D, actually, you should have seen the conversation I had with Ryan Sage about actually getting paid to be a judge. They were expecting me to be a judge for free.
I see.
That's a joke. And then what happened?
I told them, hell no. Like, dude, I was working on race cars, and even being a mechanic on a race car, I get $2,500 this weekend.
Yeah.
Like at least $1,500.
Yeah.
Like it's still the fact that I have to go drive to the airport, drop off my car, jump on an airplane,
right,
get to your hotel room, then wake up in the morning and set up the racetrack,
right.
talk to all your drivers, then get to the...
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even have to justify it. If you have to justify it, then there's an issue there already. So what ended up happening? Did you get paid? See, I got to ask these questions. That's why I'm on this podcast.
I got paid what they would give us, but it took a lot just to get a little.
There.
Yeah. A lot to get a little. That's unfortunate. Yeah.
Me and Ryan Sage never was face to... Like, me and him always
never
tried
saw eye to eye.
Yeah. Exactly. That was way easier to say it than I could say it. His vision of doing Formula D was not my vision of drifting.
Yeah.
So you were driving Formula D, you were judging Formula D, and then you drove again, and then you drove no more. And I know that you have some history with them. So give us the PC version of why you left.
The PC version was, I was kind of tired of doing the professional drifting. It's hard to drive a car where you burn your tires every minute and a half.
Yep.
You do need to at least have tire sponsor to have fun. I mean, I'm still in the fun game.
Yeah.
I like to run the local events. Honestly, now I'm into side-by-sides where I can drive all day and not change my tires, and then go drive all day tomorrow and not change my tires. The changing tire thing is what killed me with drifting. I'll be dead honest. The having to bring 40 tires with me in the back of my truck.
Yeah. Hey, that happens with the 700 horsepower car. I don't even know how you maintain, how you do all of the necessary maintenance to compete with a 700 horsepower car as a,
there is no maintenance. If you build it right, you should.
Okay.
That's like the same thing. I was an RX-7 guy.
Yeah.
Everybody complains about rotaries not being reliable.
Yeah.
But honestly, if you build a good rotary, you can you can run all day long. Yeah. Like it's not the motor. It's the injector size and the fuel pump,
right?
And the making sure you got the right fuel.
Okay.
But so, I mean, you left, you're telling me because of tires, right? See my fingers, the quotes. Right?
Yeah,
tires. But also, I mean, on a mental note, right? Like I don't know about you, but for like me and Benson, see, we didn't do as much driving as you did, but we both drove Formula D and we left it for our own reasons. Dai is retiring this year and he's leaving it for his reasons. But I feel like it wasn't fun anymore for us, because when you talk about the business of and the money and the getting the sponsors and getting the team and getting the tires, whatever, but like it takes all the fun out of it, and then you kind of almost fall out of love with it for a little bit. Like, was it the same for you?
It was pretty much the same for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, the way you laid that whole thing out pretty good.
Hey, that's why Benson paid me the big bucks.
Drifting has unfortunately changed a lot.
Pro drifting has changed a lot.
It's not pro drifting. Drifting has changed a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's evolved for sure.
It has evolved. Like
definitely.
the days of being able to just rent a track and go have fun with your boys is a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's a little different. But also, I mean,
if you don't have 150 people showing up at your event, you're kind of screwed. And I'm running out of some Gatorade.
I know. All right, Alex. So I still feel like you're a unicorn. I feel like you don't have enough credit for what you've done for drifting.
I don't care about that. Nobody knows.
And I know, I don't care about your humbleness. This is what I feel. Okay. But I mean, I know you say you don't care, but like, what kind of legacy do you want to leave?
Yes.
Like your son, like what do you want him to think about you? Like when, say there's a history book and what do you want to be written? What do you want it to say about you?
He has no idea, and he wasn't born before I...
Yeah.
he's 4. I gotta wake up because his ass wakes up.
That's right.
How you got 4 kids now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
tell me about those 4.
You're up at 7 no matter what you did the night before.
Yeah, I don't care if I'm up till 3-4 o'clock in the morning. Right there, boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
Here
Gotta show up.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know how it is.
Yeah, we know how it is. But you've built a legacy. Like, tell us what do you want your legacy to be? Like,
what
tell
what
us.
do you want? What do you want your son Billy to learn from his father's experiences?
He ain't gonna experience it unless he goes with me.
Yeah,
that's how it goes. So it really comes down to him wanting to. We got him bicycles. We got him. He's got a bunch of toys. If he doesn't play with the toys, then all right. I like his mullet. His mullet's cool as shit.
Alex, why did you go with a mullet instead of a rat tail? That's what I want to know.
I'm growing the mullet, then I'm gonna make it a rat tail.
Okay, got it. So you get both.
Transitional hairstyle.
You have to get the mullet long enough, then you get the rat tail.
Got it. It's a graduation.
Yes.
It's got to earn it. Oh my God.
If his hair is longer than the girl's hair, he's already got bonus points.
Got it. This is a very Hawaii specific conversation I think we're having.
Oh my God. Yes. What do you want?
All right, so
yeah, come on. You got to answer my question.
No.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm still waiting, dude. Your
Waiting
legacy.
for what?
Give me 3 things you want to be remembered by. Like, what remembered for? Do it. Go.
I made everybody have to follow.
You made everybody have to follow? Okay.
I want to add to that.
Oh.
Because Alex, I think that from your early days in the Bay Area doing with your team Battle Swing, you always had a following. And when you were in Hawaii and you were
Wait. I'm not sorry. I have to. What I'm saying is the drifting.
Yeah,
I was the one that made everybody have to follow.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying.
You can never dive in on somebody.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
In drifting,
yes,
everybody's rule now. Everybody. Even D1.
Yes.
That was not the rule back then.
That's right, because
I made everybody follow.
In early D1, you would see sometimes where a driver would see an opening and they would pass on the inside.
Well, they would attempt to pass.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
As soon as a car goes side by side,
yes.
If your front wheel isn't past their front wheel, like all of a sudden you dictate the line.
That's right.
Yeah. Faulty line.
You can shove somebody. I mean, we were watching F1 earlier. You watch Alonso and Hamilton. Hamilton got the lead.
Yes.
Hamilton got the lead off Verstappen. Verstappen had the pole, but Hamilton got the lead. Like going into the first turn. Yep. Who has the tires up front?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so in terms of drifting specifically, you cannot dictate the line as the following driver.
Yes.
Which is what we saw a lot of. And we even saw in D1 because there was so much about the video and the excitement of it all that when we saw someone in the following position pass the driver in the front position, it was so exciting because it's hard to do, but it's also just exciting for the video where they were it was almost like they were promoting like that is so awesome, that is the coolest thing you can do when you're drifting, that when it came to US drifting it kind of like that was okay before you stepped in. Do you want to
see the story was okay? Northern California, Sonoma.
Mm-hmm.
I was driving the RS-R car.
Yeah.
Reese Millen was in the GTO.
Mm-hmm.
First out the gate. Okay, we did the qualifying laps. You got to remember, this is back when qualifying, it had like 60 people.
Yeah.
So it took a long time for qualifying. It took longer for qualifying than top 16.
Yeah.
As we go into the first corner, Reese Millen dive bombs me and hits the curb. This is also another rule in Formula D about 2 wheels off. He jumps over the curb and dive bombs me, but I'm on his butt.
Mm-hmm.
I ran the qualifying line.
Yeah.
This is only one lane in. This is only one way into this turn. And this was my argument. Like, if you allow people to pass in the first turn without, like, you know how, like, if you're a road racer, remember when we talked about autocrossing, you only get to run it 3 laps.
Yeah.
But if you're road racing, you have to set up that lap where you actually drive in on somebody's front corner.
Right.
He drove in on me. Like, this is the first corner.
Yeah.
He just straight, like, I'm running a qualifying line, and he drives straight in on me and pushes me out.
Yeah.
I'm on his ass, and they gave it to me.
Yeah.
What happened next? JR did the same thing. Jumped in on me, and they gave it to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no. Why you giving that away? Like, you're supposed to follow me,
right?
Not drive into me,
right?
Most drifters now get it, but back then it was hard to explain to non-drifters,
right,
that you shouldn't just drive into me because you have a bigger car than me.
Right, you have a bigger car, you have more instant torque, or it's easier to hold that super inside line. Yeah, I totally agree.
With road racing, you can always, you got 3 more laps to go play.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. You only got, I don't forget where we are. You only given me one legacy, point, buddy.
So Alex, that was a legacy. That is definitely a legacy that you hold with professional drifting and Formula D, is you follow the leader and you don't determine your own line. But that didn't tell us a legacy that you want to leave for Billy. Like, what if he doesn't get into drifting, right? What do you want Billy to learn from your experience with drifting?
So
do
deep.
I want Billy to go drifting?
No, maybe not. I'm saying, like, life lessons. What did you learn from drifting that you would like him to understand?
Oh, that's a better way to phrase it, babe. I like
yes.
that.
I want him to learn how to play with friends. I mean, it's the same.
Have fun.
Yeah.
As far as us being kids.
Yeah.
Dude, car, move. Like, I grew up in the back of Polo Valley. That wasn't easy.
Yeah.
As far as but we did have, like, all our kids on our street.
Mm-hmm.
I was the kid that made the skateboard ramps.
Yeah.
My dad was he wasn't a contractor, or like he was like working on houses and stuff. So we had like the leftover wood. So I was the one that made the ramps.
Yeah.
We all got messed up. We all went to the hospital.
Everyone's mad at your dad, maybe.
No. They weren't mad at my dad. I was the one that made the ramps. So they weren't mad at my dad.
Yeah.
I just borrowed everything from my grandpa and my dad to go a little bit farther. Like, I watched my brother go down a couple times, and it's pretty funny.
But
it
Alex,
happens.
So this is why I wanted to bring up Hawaii again. Because you and I had an interesting conversation several weeks ago about we were watching a surfing show, and you and I both saw we saw parallels in surfing and drifting. And earlier in the interview, you talked about you were referencing Turtle from that surfing movie. What was it called? North Shore. North Shore.
Yes.
So when I watched North Shore, I watched it in the 2000s, and when I watched it, I was like, dude, this is not about surfing. This is about drifting, right? Because it was about competition. And,
brah.
Yeah. And so it was about competition, and it was about, there was a character in there, and I don't forgive me if I don't remember, but there was a guy that was a soul drifter. And then there's this young kid who all he wanted to do was become pro and compete on the highest level of professional competition.
You can catch all the small waves all day long.
Yeah. But so what I'm seeing is that, you know, the pro drifter was all about like the passion for surfing and just the reason why you're surfing and to have fun and be one with nature and all of these things that I feel like are at the center of drifting for you and me is a little bit different from the person who wants to be the competitor and wants to chase the fame and be successful and earn money through surfing. I feel like you and I have that same idea of drifting as it is with those soul drifters in that movie, where it's all about the passion for drifting and the love for drifting and having fun in drifting and not letting it to get too serious and not losing your way.
I know what you're talking about. Like that was kind of where I started off from. Like it really was like where like in my 20s, I really wanted. All I wanted to do was build up drifting. All I wanted to do was go drifting. So I kind of went to everything that was available for drifting.
Yeah.
Like I literally drove to Atlanta.
Yeah.
For a Nopi event for no reason, just because there's a drifting event this weekend. Hell yeah! All right,
go do it.
I'm going now. It was a bad choice. I mean, it wasn't a great choice, but I get where you're coming from.
Oh my God. Alex, we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah, we're running out of time.
I'm so I loved our conversation and I felt like I was kind of scared. Like, are we going to talk? Like, there were so many things to talk about and I feel like we got it all.
No, we didn't.
I mean, we didn't.
We're not even close.
We're not even close.
But I mean,
we didn't even.
This was a nice.
We didn't touch on the professionals. We didn't touch on the RS-R S2000, which is...
Ask me one.
Okay.
Give me one good question.
Okay. Alex, I got it. So,
all right.
I've seen you do a lot of amazing things as a drift car driver.
Did I give you that speech about like aim for the toy, the O in Toyota when you go into Irwindale, like that bank?
You did tell me that.
Because
you did tell me that.
Did I give you that speech about like aim for O?
You
clutch kick.
You did tell me that. You did tell me that. But to expand on that, Alex, we just watched Formula D at Irwindale this last.
Yes,
it just finished yesterday.
All the left foot braking breaks my heart.
Yeah, I know.
There's so many things.
We won't go into that. But when you watch Formula D at Irwindale today, you see so many of the great drivers go into the bank and they are hugging the wall all the way across the outer bank, and then they transition down from the bank. Well,
You're welcome.
Hold on, Alex.
You're welcome.
And then they transition again and they hold the outside wall of the inner bank, right?
You're welcome.
And I want to tell the audience, and I want to give you flowers at the same time. The first time I saw someone do that was at a D1 event, and that was Orido in the Supra. And he did the most
win or make the highlight reel.
It was the most amazing thing I had seen at that point, because
and put the video here.
We will. So I saw Orido do that, and I was blown away.
Hey,
but
hear me out
Orido
on this.
Crashed.
Yes, he. But I was his teammate at the time,
were,
and
you were both driving for RS-R. So let me finish. I'm going to give you credit, Alex. Then I saw you. You did the same exact thing, but not only did you do it, you were an American. You had way less experience than Orido. You had way less horsepower. You were in a S2000 of all things to do that, and you finished the course.
Me and him got into a fight. Got into a fight. Yeah, I'll be straight with you. Okay. He was out. Okay, Orido, dude, he was a mentor to me.
Yes,
dude, I've watched him for like a decade before driving with him, right?
Yes.
He's a mentor. Sorry. But like me and him got into it. I was holding back with my car.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically said, win or make the highlight reel. Let's go. Like he wasn't speaking
You guys were
English.
Competitive.
Yeah.
You and Orido, who had more than 10 years experience over you.
How many people get to drive against
Alex,
or with?
Alex, at that point, you were his peer.
No. I was still like, dude, the whole team was working on his car. The whole team was working on his car. So the way I felt, I actually got into like an argument about this with them. But like the way I felt that day, like I was drawing myself back just to make laps, to make sure my car isn't going to break. I didn't clutch kick. I didn't do anything to the car. I didn't shift hard.
Yeah.
I didn't like, you know what I mean? Like when you're driving, like you're like, yeah.
You wanted to make sure your car was
like,
good. You were not risking anything.
Yeah, I was like being like totally cool, like making sure the car was nice.
Yeah.
I didn't want to break the car.
Yeah.
All the team was like concentrated on Orido.
Yeah.
And then when he came back to Chicago, I gave him shit about it. He's like, why didn't you go? Like, and I'm like, bro, you're like, I was like, everybody was concentrated on you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the secondary driver at this point.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like, dude, he's still my legend.
Of course.
He's still my legend.
How can he not?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's Orido. Like, I look up to him more than Keiichi. Keiichi laid the foundation.
He laid the foundation, but he was not a competitor like you.
No, honestly, you know what? I'll take that back. Or Keiichi is one up from Orido.
Okay,
but if we gotta go to I'll give Keiichi one level up.
Okay.
Orido's second. Sorry. Do we have to put levels on this?
No.
Level you
no.
got?
Ratings.
No, you don't have to. No.
Hey, I do have to pee. I do have to
go.
Okay,
well, hold on, Alex.
We're going to wrap it up.
So we're going to close this out right now. And there's so much that I wanted to talk about that we never touched on.
Wait. Hold that thought. I gotta go pee real bad.
Real bad. Okay, make it quick because we don't have long.
No. I gotta go smoke a cigarette and I gotta pee.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if we have time for a cigarette, Alex.
Yeah, I'm going. F you.
Oh my gosh.
Drifting. I'm super drunk. Oh my god.
No. You have to say it 10 times slower than
Wendell,
that.
I need you to stay there for now, okay? Because we're gonna close out.
Okay.
And I want to give you your flowers for helping us with this episode. Yes. So stay there. Wendell, thank you so much for making this episode happen. And I think
no worries.
Wendell Yamada, I want to say your full name so people know. For the OGs out there, people will know who you are because you've been around since super early days in Hawaii with hypersports. And I know, life has changed a lot. You have a career and you have a girlfriend and you have all of these things that demand your time. And you went out of your way to put your insane schedule aside to make this interview happen. And I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for your friendship and just your generosity of your time to put all of that, all the stuff that's keeping you busy is not trivial. It's very important for you. It's very important for anyone who's in your situation. So thank you so much for making this happen. Alex is one of my most important guests. So thank you, because without you, Wendell, this would not happen.
Yeah. Thank you for just setting this up, getting the mic, getting the headphones, bringing Alex here today, and just we're so thankful because if you didn't help with this, we wouldn't have gotten this interview today. Yeah. So thank you.
Hey, no problem. Let me tell you, you two are some of my favorite people in the world of cars ever. So
you're the best, Wendell.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time in this episode, so you might be back. Hopefully you have some time later, maybe in the second season, maybe third season, but we want Alex back because there's so much more to talk about. But thank you so much for your generosity and just willingness to help with this.
Yeah, no worries, man.
And with you being an OG in Hawaii, I'm going to reach out to you and ask you some questions later on.
Be our Hawaii consultant.
Yeah.
Yes. Because, but we're ending the podcast this season with
Hawaii. We want to give Hawaii its flowers because I don't think people realize what Hawaii's done for the rest of the United States.
Definitely did not. People do not know.
Yeah.
It's just not out there.
You know what? I'll bust open the Rolodex and I'll help you all out.
Yeah,
because, man. People say Irwindale was the first time they had a pro drifter. I'm like, no, actually,
no, man.
Hawaii did it first.
Yeah. That's right. And we didn't touch on it enough. But everyone knows the Signal Auto Drift Twins, but they debuted in Hawaii. No one knew about who they were, what the cars looked like until they were in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the best thing ever.
Yeah.
They left their car at Hypersports and it went home, waited 20 minutes, went around the block, put the sucker on the lift, and I photographed every single thing under their car because I'm shameless.
No, I remember
absolutely shameless, man.
Wendell, I remember talking to you about that. You were telling me their caster specs. You were telling me all these little things that you were seeing in the cars. I was like, I got to write all this stuff down.
Come here.
What?
So good.
Go say goodbye. Go say bye.
Okay, get Alex on the headphones. Thanks, Wendell.
Put it on.
Sit down, Alex. We're going to close this out.
Yes.
Okay. So,
We
Alex,
have to because we're running out of time.
we're running out of time. You guys got to get out of there. I appreciate you. I know this is not at your home. We're doing this over Zoom, but you're not doing this at home. You traveled to do this. Wendell traveled to do this. And I think, honestly, this is one of the most important interviews we've done so far because you are one of the, if not the earliest, one of the earliest and pioneers of drifting in the United States. And I'm so grateful for you and all the things that you've done and the trailblazing that you've done for us.
I've been one of the realists.
You are,
I've been
for
one
sure,
of the realists.
for sure.
And we appreciate that.
You will always be one of the realists. You are a pioneer of drifting in the United States. And I'm so glad to see you find successful with battle version. I'm so happy to see that you found success in life with your.
Honestly, it is what it is.
It is. It's a journey, and we have our ups and downs. And I'm so glad that you've had your ups and downs, but you've found success in life with your wife Roxanne, your son Billy. And the fact that you still have your SC300 and you're still drifting and you're still doing what you love. And, life is, no matter how much we love drifting, life is bigger than drifting. And to see you find your path in life and finding happiness through family is great.
You know what brings me joy is the fact that you guys actually had my suspension parts on your car.
Oh
back
yeah,
in the day.
Of course.
Hell yeah.
You all ran my.
Hell yeah,
Always.
man. Of course. I mean, you brought so much to the table with your brand and just to the community. So, of course.
I remember in 18 with the drifting pretty days.
Yeah,
I
man.
remember watching Ernie staring at Cassidy. I remember Ernie
Yup.
looking at Cassidy.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they're gonna be a couple.
No.
Oh,
Ernie,
dude.
and Ernie was doing this.
Yeah, he's over there. Ernie's over there like,
Oh my god.
that's my wife.
God.
That's gonna be my
Alex,
girl.
we were there
Hey,
having
hey.
pizza. We didn't know it was a double date, but it was a double date.
Was it double? But Alex, like, your happiness is our happiness, and I'm glad you found it, and we see it, and I know it's in the eye of the beholder, and we're our own biggest critic. But like,
that's right.
We have you on the podcast today because you are successful, and it looks like you found happiness, and like I feel like we are on the same wavelength. Wait.
You got that way bigger than what it seems like.
But that's like, have you heard Moto's episode? It's the same thing. He doesn't want any credit because he thinks he didn't do anything, and it's just like, no, dude.
Well,
like,
same thing. Like, his happiness does have cries behind it. Like, he really went through a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
like,
he did.
I went through Moto's, like, I was actually at Moto's place a few times. Honestly, I love Moto. Like, I remember the days when drifting pretty was cool. I remember being
it's still cool, bro. 18 years.
Alex, you are always an early supporter of drifting pretty, and I never
thought that was great.
I never told you, but we didn't. You, Alex, you, Andy, Dai, Ken Gushi, you guys didn't have to do that, and
we helped it. Like, I came out there a few nights. Yeah, I remember coming out there like, hey, let's have a night where we can work on somebody's car.
Yeah,
and we all did.
Yeah, and you didn't have to do that. I think things are a little bit different now, where we support each other's causes a lot easier. But back then, for you to be who you were and to support women empowerment through drifting, you didn't have to do that. And I'll always appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'd always, dude, that was okay. If we're gonna end on one topic, I'm gonna say it. I was always out there to help everybody.
You were.
Help everybody in this industry.
You were.
I kind of put it out there. I never got shit out of it. I really was just out there to help everybody.
Yeah.
And we saw that, and we know that. We do, not everybody.
And for you being an honest person all the time, and like, no fluff, and saying how it is, that might paint you a picture of maybe someone who's a little harsh. But man, for you to support us the way you did, like that's big. And forever appreciates you for doing that.
All right, you guys, love you.
Yeah, love you too, man.
Yeah,
and
we got to get out of here. A time limit's up.
Yeah, Alex, we didn't talk about half the things I wanted to talk about today.
Oh no, we got more time.
So we're gonna have to do this again, for sure. Are you down?
I'm in.
All right, let's do it.
We have that on tape.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much, Alex. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex. All right, guys, and that ends this episode of the Sileightymania podcast. If you want to learn more about Alex Pfeiffer's suspension brand Battle Version, visit his website at battleversion.com. And guys, please follow us on Instagram at Sileightymania, and you can visit our website at podcast.sileightymania.com. And you can also watch this episode on YouTube. Please leave a message on our hotline and leave your questions and comments, and tell us about the first time you fell in love with drifting. Leave your message or text to 323-607-6075. That's 323-607-6075. And guys, we'll see you in the next one.